Well, good evening and welcome to our Wednesday night update here at First Presbyterian Church. We are glad to have you with us this evening, and I trust all of you have been having a good week up to this point. Len, I know you're with us. I saw that on the comments already. You're heading off to Portugal here before too long to escape winter. I just got back from Ireland, where my dad's yard was looking like this at the start of February, and as we went for walks, we could see the daffodils beginning to poke through the grass. It won't be long before the daffodils are blooming in Belfast. Here in Minnesota, it might be a while, but that's the nature of living here in the frozen north. Wait a minute. I think Belfast is almost 500 miles north of the Twin Cities. Anyway, what's that got to do with anything? Nothing that's really important. Who we got with us here tonight? Kathy, very good evening to you and Rich. We are glad to see you with us as usual on a Wednesday night. Dale, we're glad as always to see you popping in here, and really appreciate the fact that you show up regularly on a Wednesday night and are continuing to support our church through our online worship on a Sunday morning. Meg, we are glad to have you with us as well. You are also a regular, and definitely appreciate that. The support and the encouragement that you guys have brought over the last couple of years of COVID has been significant for me as the pastor of this congregation. Let's see, who else do we have with us? FPC Kids, we are glad to have you with us, Shara, this evening as well. And I will take a peek back here in a couple more minutes' time to see if anybody else has posted anything in the comments section, and we will obviously acknowledge their presence with us. Kathy, thank you for welcoming me back. It is mostly good to be back, I suppose, if I'm really honest about it. It was absolutely fantastic to be home in Belfast for a couple of weeks and spend some time with my dad and see my brother and my sister-in-law and my nephews, at least two of my nephews while I was there, and just to get to enjoy a little break from the harsh winter realities of Minnesota. But more importantly, I was also there for the Four Corners Festival, which I will, again, share a little bit more about with you in a couple of minutes here when it comes to our thought for the week. We do have a couple of announcements this evening. Obviously, we're still reminding folks that masks are still required here in the building. Session met last night, and we are hopeful that by the time our March meeting rolls around in 4 weeks' time, that we'll be in a position to look at COVID numbers that have continued to decline for us, and perhaps we'll be able to go to a mask optional piece at that time. We did even begin conversations about whether and when we might be able to think about fellowship time as well. So session is very hopeful at the moment that we are starting to see something that will allow us to move closer to normal again before too long. And personally, as the pastor of the church, I am absolutely thrilled for that. Ash Wednesday is coming up on March 2nd, so we do invite you to follow the link in the newsletter to order the ashes. They'll be mailed out to your house. I think we'll also be able to have some available on Sunday morning for you to pick up And basically that service will be an online service. It'll premiere at 7 a.m. On March 2nd. So if you are interested in wearing ashes throughout the day, that would be a time to engage in that service and apply the ashes. It's always felt a little odd to me that our Ash Wednesday service is in the evening. We apply the ashes, we leave, we go home, we wash them off, and there's no real symbolism for those who are wanting it of their Christian faith throughout the course of the day. Also, we do have care kits available in the Red Hall. If you would like to pick up a care kit, we'd encourage you to do so and keep one of those in your car. And when you're passing by an intersection and you see somebody there asking for help, it's just a great thing to be able to have handy to pass out and to be able to make a difference and let somebody know that they are cared for. Somebody who feels that it is necessary for them to reach a point where they have no hope left except for the charity and the good-natured grace of others who happen to be driving by them. I pray that none of us would ever find ourselves in that situation, and I pray too that we would have compassionate hearts for those who are facing hardships at this time. Also, we will be assisting the White Bear Food Shelf by collecting disposable diapers, sizes 5 to 6. I'm not sure what sizes 5 to 6 means in terms of the age of the kids, but that's what we're looking to collect. And also baby wipes over the next couple of Sundays. You can bring your donations into worship on February 20th or 27th, where we will collect them and display them during worship as a sign of our commitment to the community here in White Bear Lake. So I do hope, let's see, you're all keeping well. Hey, Jeff Lash, good evening to you, my friend. Glad to have you joining us this evening. Folks, for those of you who don't know, the Lash family had a fire in their house this past Saturday evening, and they are in the process of working with insurance companies to get everything sorted out. And as they begin the process of their recovery and rebuilding, we definitely want to keep them in prayer. And Jeff, if you guys, like I've said before, if you have any needs, reach out to us as a church, and we will be more than happy to try to step in and help in any way we can. June Smith is also requesting continued prayers for Jim. Jim is currently in Regents Hospital for more support and tests, and after that he'll be moving to a VA care facility sometime in the near future. He's going to need more care than could be provided for him after his brief stay up at Keystone in Hugo. And he will also at that time be entering into hospice care as well. So our prayers are for comfort and love to support Jim and June during this difficult time. We also want to maintain our prayers for Bill Fairman, who is in hospice care as well. Continued prayers for Erica and Jennifer Enfer as they're visiting family and friends in Cameroon at the moment in what is still somewhat of a hostile situation. As I understand it, they're staying right now in the city so that their friends and family can come visit them there, because it's just not safe for them to go out into the rural country areas of the English-speaking part of that nation. So continued prayers, obviously, for Cameroon. You can't turn on the news right now and not see the whole issue with Russia and the Ukraine in the forefront of it. But you may or may not know that we actually, as a congregation, have a somewhat personal connection to the Ukraine at the moment. One of our church members, Rita Garenbeck, is requesting prayer for her son, David. David is in the diplomatic service, and he has been based in Kyiv over the last few years. And right now, his family has been evacuated, and they are back in the United States. But he is fairly senior in the diplomatic corps, and so he's remaining in Ukraine right now with the few members of the diplomatic service that are still there. And so Rita is requesting prayers for safety for David and his diplomatic partners and all of those at risk in the Ukraine. And of course, we want to pray for peace. We want to see that situation de-escalated. Kind of drives me a little bit nuts that they're saying that there's a diplomatic solution to this. I mean, really, all it takes is for Vladimir Putin to say, yeah, we're not going to invade, we're just going to go home. Nobody gets killed, nobody gets hurt, national borders are honored, and we can get on with it. Why do we make it so difficult in this life to get on with one another? It's crazy, right? I mean, it just is crazy. How hard is it to say, I won't kill you, and I won't kill your friends, and I won't kill your family? Anyway, that's a whole nother story. I was, like I said, back in Belfast for the Four Corners Festival, and I had an absolutely fantastic time. In terms of taking continuing education breaks as a pastor, I would say that this week of the Four Corners Festival was one of the better continuing education experiences I've ever had. And that includes classes that I took for my Doctor of Ministry program. It was just so powerful to begin the week with, as I said on Sunday, with the Pope bringing a message in the Anglican Cathedral, and then to have Austin Ivory, the Pope's biographer, speak, and to end the week with the Archbishop of Canterbury present in the flesh at the St. Peter's Catholic Cathedral on the Falls Road in Belfast, an area of the city that as a kid I would never have ventured into during the day, let alone at night. And yet there I was with the Archbishop of Canterbury in the Catholic Cathedral in a former no-go area, especially for the military or the police, or even me as a Presbyterian Protestant kid in the city. It just wouldn't have been safe 30 years ago. But sandwiched between those two events were another number of other events. They included an evening with Carl Frampton, former world champion boxer, as kids from East and West Belfast, the Protestant and Catholics, predominantly Protestant Catholic communities there, coming together, united as one in their love for boxing. Kids that perhaps had never entered into a Catholic monastery before were at Clonard Monastery because Carl Frampton was there. And Carl spoke as a Protestant kid growing up in Tigers Bay area of Belfast, just the challenges of being in that community, but then how boxing allowed him to see beyond that, allowed him to eventually marry a Catholic girl. And as it's funny, we call it a mixed marriage over there, right? A mixed marriage, a Protestant Catholic. Here we think mixed marriage would be black and white skin color, more so in this country. But over there, it's actually two Christian denominations. Roman Catholicism and a Protestant denomination is considered a mixed marriage, which, 30 years removed from Belfast, still leaves me shaking my head. We heard from poets. We heard from writers. And I think, though, for me, the highlight of the week in some ways was Friday night at the Grand Opera House in Belfast when Ruth McGinley, who is a classically trained pianist, was in conversation with Steve Stockman. And Steve is a good friend of mine, and as Ruth played her music in the live venue and made those piano keys come to life, there was just a powerful sense of presence. You could almost taste the music as you just breathed in the environment around you. It just filled the space with a sense of awe. It created a holy moment there in the Opera House in Belfast. But Ruth spoke to her struggles in life. She spoke to the challenges of addiction. She was considered a piano protege at a very young age. She started playing, I think, at the age of 2. She was the BBC's Young Musician of the Year back in the 1990s. And the pressures of all of that got to her. And she went through a period of addiction, which she finally came through and entered recovery in 2010 and has been sober since then. But she also experienced great stage fright. She reached a point in her musical career where she really couldn't even get herself on stage without being absolutely terrified. So she actually backed away from music for a while. And then at one point in the evening, she began to talk about how playing the piano can be a challenge because the piano is essentially a percussive instrument. That when you hit the piano key, a hammer goes up and it hits the string, and no matter how much you want to hold that note indefinitely, you can't do that. And she described playing the piano as essentially an ongoing series of decrescendos, and that it required a sense of imagination, of feeling, of entering into the moment, to be able to envision what that note might sound like with the other notes if it was able to continue. And that allows for the creativity of the pianist to be able to move forward. And I love that idea. And throughout the Four Corners Festival, I was taking photographs. And so I think my thought for the week this week, it's a combination of two things. It's a combination of what Ruth McGinley said at the end of her discussion on the piano as a percussive instrument, and then the image that I created of her playing the piano around it. Here's the image and the quote. If you stop, the sound stops. Everything stops. If you stop, the sound stops. Everything stops. As she spoke those words, they washed over me in a really powerful way, because they were a reminder to me of the amazing gift that is life, and the promise that Jesus gave us, that he came to give us life, and life to the fullest. Folks, I hope that you're able to keep moving forward. Keep the sound, this beautiful sound of your life, the harmonies of creation that resonate within you. Let them sing out to the world. For God came to give you life, and a full and complete life. If you stop, the sound stops. Everything stops. I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. And may God bless you until we get together again. Bye for now.